Hello, and good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. Welcome once again to our leadership podcast, the Leadership Garage series. And today I am joined by my wonderful friend, Cristian Martinez. Cristian is someone I have known for a while now, and he's a true servant leader. For the time I have known him, I have seen him go out of his way to serve people around him. He exceeds expectations. He is a father, he's a husband to one wife, and he's also served for over 22 years in the US Airforce, and he will tell us a little bit more about that. So, once again, I am your host, Mercy Masila Chola. I'm an executive program leader with the Maxwell Leadership Team and also the founder of Valley Connect. And may I add here that Cristian is actually a peer, he's a friend that I met in the Maxwell Leadership Team. So that's where we connected from. So welcome, Cristian. Good to have you on our show today. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you for the warm introduction. Thank you for inviting me to the Leadership Garage. I'm excited to be here. One, because you asked, and I don't say yes to a lot of things, but I do say yes to people that I truly believe in, that I truly support. And from the time that we met, I loved your energy. We met over a dinner actually, and
Yes.
it's wonderful to just get to know you and to be in that space and to just know more about you and all of the exciting things that you were doing. So when you asked, I was like, yes. And then I came back and I was like, okay, what time is it for you? Because I didn't want it to be inconvenient for you.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm
Yes, to
excited to be
our
here.
audience, Christian is and I are actually 10 hours apart. I am just coming from my dinner, and Christian has just had his breakfast a few hours ago. So he's just
Yeah.
starting his day. And that is the beauty of the Leadership Garage, because we are bringing you leaders from all over. And right now, Christian, tell us, where are you based?
So I live currently in Las Vegas, the city that never sleeps, and I've been here for about 8 months.
Awesome. They say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But for today, Christian is with us and he's going to be sharing some powerful nuggets on leadership and the leadership journey. So, Christian, what do you want to talk to us about at the Leadership Garage? I know we call you the attitude man.
For yeah, for me, I love how you've structured your podcast where you talk about kind of like perspectives and then compare it to an automobile and its performance. So for me, I always think about one of the things that can separate us from the crowd. Our mentor John talks about it's easy to separate yourself from the crowd, right? And I think one of the things that we can do is having a positive attitude. And so for me, I always try to find out how can I talk about your attitude, the way that you show up, and then use that to inspire people to show up in the best way that they can.
Yes,
So I'm
and
ready for.
Christian, I know you show up great. And I know we have an example. You actually model that positive attitude. And I know our executive vice president of the Maxwell Leadership Enterprise and Christian Robinson, that you are always his handler when we are having the International Maxwell Conference. And it all started because you wanted to serve. I told you guys he's a servant leader, but it's about his attitude. He was ready to do anything. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about how that happened, Christian, because I think it's a wonderful story to share with our audience.
Yeah, absolutely. So what happened is I had been part of the Maxwell leadership team for about 3 years at the time. And interestingly enough, I had kept asking if I could serve, if I could help. I always see that in different aspects of life, you'll have, teams or organizations that sometimes do things well, and sometimes they're doing things and they need help and they don't know how to ask, right? And so at this moment in time, I saw that there was a need on the team, and I said, "Hey, I wanna be able to serve and help here." At the time, they had sent a message out saying we would like some folks to help out with the gear store. So the gear store is where we sell equipment, we sell clothes, and stuff like that. And so I said, absolutely, I would love to serve. And one of the leaders on the team, I actually looked up to her. And so I had came in, and I came in early. We were putting the stuff together, and it was funny because at that time, everybody on the team had kept saying, "Hey, who is this guy?" And initially I was kind of like not offended, but a little bit taken back. Like, why do they keep asking who I am? And so everybody was asking because they had never seen somebody come in and just work as hard, or just kind of just really try to get things done. Most people were coming in and they were having conversations, and I was like, I'll have a conversation, but I was told that, I need to get this stuff done. So I was trying to get things done, and lo and behold, as I'm, finishing up a box, I open up another box. Chris Robinson walks in, and he said, "Hey," he introduces himself to everybody. But what was interesting about it is he also knew everybody's name. And so he kind of like goes through and talks to everybody, and I'm on the ground. And I didn't want to seem like I was like, because I had looked at him as a mentor. So I didn't want to seem like I was like a boy fan or anything like that. But I paused and I was like, man, like he really intentionally knows everybody. So he interacts with people, he pauses and he says, "Hey, Cristian, how you doing?" And I was like, man, he knows my name. And I said, "I'm doing great. How about you?" And he was like, "I'm doing well." He's like, "It's a great day to have a great day." And I said, "It absolutely is." And I said, I want to thank you for the opportunity to serve on this team. I have been asking to serve, for a long time, and it just seemed like it was never the right time. So I just want to thank you because I know all of the decisions, sometimes kind of go or stop through you. And I was very appreciative of the opportunity to be able to help the team, because I know that sometimes people get burnt out and they may just not say anything. So in that moment, he said, "Well, thank you for serving us so well." And he said something else. He said, "It's important that we don't despise small beginnings." So he said, "Thank you for serving us so well, and it's important that we don't despise small beginnings." And I said, "I truly appreciate that." And I said, "If you ever need anything, I mean absolutely anything, please don't hesitate to ask." And then he comes back and he says, "Well, I'm gonna hold you to that." And I said, "I hope you do." And so the conversation ended there. He went about his day. And so I left. I was excited. We finished the gear store. And then the next morning, as I'm getting ready for the event, I get dressed. I'm heading down the hallway, and I'm like rushing to get early for breakfast. So I usually like to get down early so that I can eat and then just greet people as they come in. Just have a positive attitude, make sure they have like a friendly face when they're coming in. And as I'm trying to rush to breakfast, he stops me. He goes, "Hey, Cristian, you got a minute?" And I go, "Why, yes." So I stopped, and he was actually doing his morning huddle. So he was doing a morning huddle at the time. He put me on the camera. He's like, "Hey guys, meet Cristian." And then I said hi. We talked a little bit. And then he said, "Do you have a minute? Once I'm finished with this call, I have a question for you." And I said, "Absolutely, I can wait." And so he finishes up the call, and he says, "What are you doing today?" And I said, "I'm excited about being at the event, excited about the sessions." He's like, "Would you like to be my handler?" I was like, "Yes." And then I was like, "Wait, what is that?" I said, I don't know what I just said yes to. And he said, "Well, follow me." And so literally from that moment, I just followed him. And then I quickly realized that as one of the leaders of the organization, not only do they want to constantly engage and connect with folks, sometimes because of their heart to connect with folks, they may not be able to get to where they need to get to on time. So my job was to essentially make sure that not only that he got to every scheduled appointment that he had, but also if I needed to carve out time in his schedule to make opportunities for something that came up, that I found a way to do that. So I would shift his schedule around. I would talk to him, connect with him about what we needed to shift. And then he would say, hey, let's move this around. And then I would connect with his executive partner, and then she would coordinate the changes as needed. But it was super interesting because I learned so much, not only about attitude, but I learned about character, and I learned about trust, just watching and observing and being close to him.
Awesome. And viewers and listeners, I have been a beneficiary of Cristian helping to create a time for me to be able to record a video with Chris Robinson. And I truly appreciate you, Cristian, for doing that. And so with that story you have shared with us, Cristian, I want to bring in the context of the rear view mirror in our car, which says, and I'll read a quote that says, it's impossible to safely drive a car while only looking in the rear view mirror. It's unsafe also to go forward with no idea of what came before. So in reflection, Cristian, of that incident you just shared with us, of you presenting yourself, willing to serve, and you being reminded, do not despise humble beginnings, small beginnings, and seeing where you are now. When you look at that rear view mirror, where you've come from, and then you look in front, because I know you're doing amazing things right now. You just came back from Fiji. What can you tell us? What can you tell us?
I think it's super important that I remember hearing somebody say that not evaluated, but like experience is the best teacher. And then I heard somebody say it's not experience, but evaluated experience, right? So being able to reflect and see what you learned and then actually apply it to your life. And I think as I think about that scenario, what I want to share is kind of how I got to that point of wanting to serve. And I think it'll help us kind of see why not only having the right attitude, but having the right mindset can help you move forward, especially when you're trying to move forward, but you're trying to decide how often to look in the rearview mirror, right? Yes. And so I remember when I first joined Maxwell Leadership, one of the things that was important to me was how I showed up. I wanted to be the very best version of me. But in an essence, I think sometimes when you try to show up in your best self, some people may take that as a threat, right? And I think what's important that we understand is that we're not in competition with each other. We're always collaborating, right? How can I, show up, do what I do, and then if you come along, how can I support, help, and serve you, right? But we live in a society that thinks about competition and thinks competition is great. Competition is only great when you internalize it and you say, I want to be better than I was yesterday. So at the time that I joined Maxwell Leadership, I decided that I wanted to put on an event. And I said, I'm going to put on this event and it's going to be the best event ever. And so my mindset was I wanted to be good. I wanted to do a great event. I started to put on this event. I had a little bit of hiccups because not a lot of people knew, not only did they not know who I was, they didn't know who John Maxwell was. So that was interesting to me. Like, here I am, like, this guy is the number one leadership expert in the world. And so many people are still unaware of who he is. And so in this process, I'm sharing, and I realized that I needed to share with people my excitement and my positive attitude, which is how I got most of the people in the room. Now, fast forward, the event was successful. It was my first leadership event. And you may know of it. It was a Live to Lead, right? And so I put it on, and my goal was to have 75 people in the room. That was my goal. I wanted to have 75 people in the room. Now I ended up having 88 people in the room, which was a success. However, and I'll share a story at another time, but I didn't build my profits up front. So I put the prices way too low, and I didn't think about how can I actually recoup my costs. So I paid for the venue, I paid for food, I paid, for the setup,
The
I paid for,
audio, yes.
I paid for the license. So I paid for all of these things, and I never did the math to figure out what should I price my tickets at to actually be successful. Now, the event was a success. Everything kind of, played out the way that it was supposed to. But something interesting happened. When I got back to work, so at the time, I was still serving in the military. And I get back to work and I get called to a commanding officer's office. Now, typically this is not a good sign. You either get called for a good reason or a bad reason, right? So I get ready to report. I put on my really nice uniform, and I said, hey, do we know what this is in regards to? And they said, yes, it's in regards to the event you did, last week. So I'm thinking, sweet, this is awesome. I'm like, I'm about to get recognized. I'm about to get, really just all kind of accolades, because that was the feedback that I got from the event. So I walk in, and all of a sudden, everybody's face is stoic, just very serious. And they're like, you are hereby. And then I literally blacked out. I don't remember anything that they said. I left the room. I paused and I talked to the people that I was supposed to talk to. And I was like, what just happened? How did I get in trouble for putting on a leadership event?
So you got reprimanded. That's what you're saying, Cristian.
Yes. Okay.
Why? Was it not something you're allowed to do?
Well, no. So I'm going to explain that now. So I actually paused, and I asked the person that I was working with, I said, hey, I don't understand what just happened. Even though I did this on my own, outside of the context of the military, I went and I got approval from, legal. I got approval from leadership. Like, I did everything that I was supposed to do. I dotted I's, I crossed T's. I made sure everything was done appropriately. What did I miss here? And they said it was the perception. So they said there was a few individuals from within our organization that went to your event, loved the event, but when leadership was walking around, for some reason, whenever people go to professional development, they will try to get reimbursed for it, right? And it wasn't that my event was wrong. It was the perception that these people that were junior to me were paying me for mentorship, which they're supposed to get mentorship from me for free. But it was the perception and the context. Nobody ever shared the context that they went to a leadership event, that they paid to go to the event through a business, not to me. All my leadership saw was, you put it on an event, they paid you for mentorship. That's all they said. I tried to explain myself, I did it. Now, what does that have to do with the rear view mirror? I took that specific moment in time, excuse me.
Bless you.
And I said, I'm going to use this as a learning point. I said, I'm going to use this because I believe that what I did was right. Did I do everything the right way? Maybe not. But my heart and my motives were pure. My intention was to serve. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to double down on what I feel my calling is. And so I decided to use my natural born abilities. And I said, moving forward, I am going to speak when I have an opportunity to speak. I'm going to lead when I have an opportunity to lead. And I'm going to, just do my very best to show up in the best way that I know how. Now, That specific instance, like you said, was a reprimand. In essence, I want to put this into context for people. Imagine being at the top of your organization.
Yes.
Being ready to promote to the next level, and somebody saying, stop, you cannot
Yes.
promote anymore. You no longer can move forward, but we still want you to continue to serve. And so fast forward 6 years later, I'm still serving. I'm still doing a great job. But guess what I'm not doing, right? I'm not constantly looking back at that experience and saying,
Incident.
what was me, right?
Yes.
What I've done is every year, every couple of months, I take a look back and I say, I remember what I did that could have been misunderstood. And here's how I'm going to do it moving forward. And I've used that experience to be able to just be almost like an indicator for me. Are you doing what you said you were going to do? Are you using your natural born abilities, right? Are you using your gifts? 2, have you used that and learned from that? Because every time I look back, just like if I'm in a car, I'm looking back to make sure that there's nobody coming on my left or on my right, so that when I try to switch lanes, I don't get hit. True. And so as I kind of make adjustments in my life now, I constantly take a look back and I say, I'm doing the right things. I'm moving in the right direction. Now, since that day, and I'm going to share something, and I don't want to share this to brag, but I want to share this to just put an emphasis on why it's so important that I learn from that experience. Yes. So since that moment, I have been able to now speak in 6 different countries. I have been able to help 3 organizations win over 60 awards. I have been able to coach over 500 people and do 500 hours of coaching. I have been able to now serve and train over 2,000 people in business. And I recently won an award from Maxwell Leadership.
Yes. Awesome.
All of that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, all of that. Thank you. Yeah. And all of that wouldn't have happened had I just worried about what happened to me in the past. Had Absolutely. I just sat in the past, had I not learned from the past. So yes. to kind of bring it into perspective, it's really important that we not only always keep our eyes looking forward, but frequently just check, just to make sure that you're not making the same mistakes, or that anything that's in your rearview mirror isn't holding you back as an anchor. And your attitude is really important, because your attitude can either propel you forward or hold you back. Yeah. It can be your anchor or it can be your sail. And so for me, I just felt like that opportunity showed me that if I stayed there, I would never be where I am today. And in that entire process, I've learned the importance of having good attitude. Yeah. Even better character, and that I needed to just trust the process, right? And trusting the process was that I decided that I was going to commit to this, and nobody ever said it was going to be easy. Yeah. So,
wow. What an amazing story, Cristian. And it so resonates with the conversation that we were speaking about, we agreed to talk about. And the fact that, yes, you want to keep going forward, an occasional, that's what we do when we're driving, an occasional glance at the rearview mirror. As you said, also, you want to make sure you're not getting into the other lane so that you end up in collusion with others. I love also, Cristian, that you've reminded us on the importance of collaboration and not competition. The only person we want to be in competition with is ourselves. And that is becoming a better person tomorrow than the person I was today. And I want to just celebrate you for taking those bold steps and moving forward and not letting that hold you behind, and what awesome lessons we can all learn from that. And John Maxwell actually has even written a book where he says, sometimes we win and sometimes we learn. And what powerful lessons you have shared with us. I love that. Yes, it's right there on your screen at the corner of your background. I see it there. So, Cristian, as we wrap up our podcast today, we always like to hear from our guests. Tell us, what is your favorite car, model, year of manufacture, and why? Is it a new car, an old car? I'm so eager to hear this. So tell us.
Oh man. So for a long time, I was in love and infatuated with a BMW. That was like my dream car for a long time. And it really didn't matter the year, but the model was important. I wanted an M series BMW, the performance, right?
Yes.
And the reason being is because it was a very classy vehicle, one that showed sophistication, power, all in one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so funny because recently I've been in the market to look for a different kind of car. So I have a BMW, and because I
An
had
M
recently,
series?
yes,
Okay. So you did get it. Okay, that's
yeah,
nice.
and so but recently, what ended up happening is I had hurt my back, and I think I hurt my back because of like a lot of the traveling that I had been doing. I think I may have lifted a bag wrong. And so my leg was hurting, and then when I went to the physical therapist, they shared that it's actually back problems, but it's stemming to your legs.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed getting in and out of my car has become a little bit of kind of like uncomfortable. And so recently I actually been looking at Jeeps. And the reason I had been looking at Jeeps, specifically Sahara altitude Jeep, is because the convenience of getting in and out of the car.
Yeah.
My mentor also drives one.
Okay.
And the luxury of being able to actually have the opportunity to pull stuff with the Jeep, be able to go to like the beach, or like be able to have fun. Like in the BMW, you're not, most people aren't taking a BMW to the beach, right? Like I don't care where you live in the world, like you're not doing that. But with a Jeep, it's easier, more convenient. And so I think like now that's one of the things that I'm looking at. But I think it's because of the convenience, the flexibility of the Jeep, being able to like pull, tow, and do different things like that. So for me, a Jeep is something that I'm looking into. So I'm doing a lot of research. So if you were to ask me my favorite car, it's a BMW M series. But because of
You're
what life
drifting to
has
a
thrown
Jeep.
at me, yeah, Jeep is coming up in the poll.
I'm smiling, Cristian, because as I was relaunching this podcast, the first person I had as a guest was my own husband, Chris. And when I asked him what's his favorite car, he said it's a Jeep. So I'm going to share with you the podcast, and you can hear what he said about the Jeep, and maybe some of his takeaways for loving the Jeep as his favorite car might convince you to go that way. So thank you so much, Cristian. We truly appreciate you, and for coming onto the show at very short notice, and sharing with us very good lessons about the rearview mirror and having a positive attitude and being able to use our talents, and are we using them to learn? I love that. All that context has really been appropriate for our audience today. So I'm going to ask you for a parting shot, Cristian, and then we will wrap up the show for today. What's your parting shot to our audience?
Just remember that attitude is everything. Go out, dominate your space, but keep your attitude in the right perspective.
Great. Thank you so much, Cristian. And so there, viewers and listeners, we have come to the end of our episode for today, the Leadership Garage podcast. It has been, I'm your host, Mercy Masila Chola, And I was joined today by Cristian Martinez all the way in Las Vegas, and he has been awesome. Go in, listen in, tag somebody, invite somebody, share the link with somebody else, and let's continue to spread the message on how we can build ourselves as leaders and become the best version of ourselves. So for now, we say goodbye and looking forward to seeing you at the next episode. Stay tuned. Bye-bye.